Hi everyone, Kelly here with the Made for Mermaids vlog. I'm showing you some tools today that are good to have in your sewing arsenal. Got a whole bunch of really cool things here to show you that will help you up your sewing game. These are things that I've collected over the years and that I use really often when I'm doing my sewing. First up, we are going to look at the slanted tweezers. Slanted tweezers are something that I added to my kit once I got my serger. I think my first pair came actually with my serger, and it's to help out with the tricky threading process with the serger with all the double needles and trying to get into the tight spaces. So here I'm just showing you on my sewing machine. I've picked up the thread and I'm going to get that through that hole there, which for me, I'm getting older, it's a little bit more difficult to find that nice and easy, but there it's gone through super quick. And you can just use your tweezers to pull it on through, super easy. Something else I like to use my slanted tweezers for are turning out corners. I don't have a purple thing, I never have. I used to use chopsticks, but of course I've lost those over the years thanks to the kiddos wanting to play. But the slanted tweezers have the nice rounded edges, so you can actually turn out those corners and not have any fear of it going through your fabric. So there you go. Slanted tweezers, turning out your corners, nice and easy. Next up, I'm going to show you some Wonder Clips, they're usually called, but I think that's just a name brand. So sewing clips, they're just a little clip like this, got a little clamp on there, it holds your fabric together whenever you're ready to sew. I like it a lot better than the needles. I just get poked a lot with the pins, but I mean I do still use the pins depending on the fabric that I'm working with. The clips are really helpful if you have a fabric that tends to get snags and pulls in it with, you know, the sharper points from the pins. So that is the sewing clips. These ones here that I have a 1/2 inch length. So if you're actually doing a hem, it's really easy. Just clip it on there and you already know that that's a 1/2 inch. Something that I really love and I use pretty much every time that I am cutting out a pattern for marking are these Clover chalk pens. They're really cool. They've got a little wheel on the end here. Let me see if I can get that. So there you go. It's got a little wheel that's going to let the chalk out as you run it along your fabric. This is just a piece of linen that I've been working with. So there you can see that line. It's nice and clear. They come in a bunch of different colors, white, yellow, blue. I think there's another one too. I can't remember right now. But there is the white and there's the yellow. Really, really easy to work with. And then whenever you're done, it just wipes off. It's just chalk. So you're not worried about marking your clothes. There you go. Now, something else that I use pretty much every single time that I sew and several times while I'm sewing is a hem gauge, measuring gauge. It has all kinds of different lengths on it, measurements on it here that are very helpful. 5/8, an inch, 1 3/8 for doing hems, 1/4 inch. I use this a lot when I'm doing work on my sewing machine or my serger for measurements that are not on the machine. I've got 5/8, an inch, all those back here. I've got a couple that are behind, which aren't really helpful to me when I'm sewing. So I use 3/8 quite a bit, and I line it up with my needle, and then I know where my 3/8 is going to land. And this is also really, really good when you're doing hemming. And here we go, I'll show you here. If you're doing a hem, let's say you do want to do a 3/8 hem, then you just place it on your fabric and push up that curve. And then you can, there you go, mark it with your clips, or you can use some fabric glue or some hem tape to help you keep that in place, especially on a curved hem. That's really helpful. And I'm actually going to show you that next. So 2 pretty cool tools to use when you are working with a curved hem, let's say, or if you have a pocket that you want to place on your garment and you need to keep it in place before you sew it in, is some glue. This is Sew-Line fabric glue. Looks just like a little, like one that we get in school, but this one's nice and it's got a skinnier tip on it for doing your edges. So you just place it on your fabric, just glides right on there. And then I like to use my measuring gauge here. I'm gonna turn it up. I'm doing a 3/8 right here, and you just press it in place, and that's gonna hold. Now you can also use some hem tape. Hem tape's just the double-sided. Comes in a couple of different widths, I think, like 1/4 inch and then maybe a little bit bigger. I just use the 1/4 inch. No need for anything else. Take off a piece, place that onto your fabric. You're going to peel off that top layer. And then you're left with just the tape underneath. And again, I'm going to turn that up. Use my gauge, push it down. And now that's held in place too. So there you go, a couple of different ideas for holding a hem in place, pockets in place, anything that you need to hold right before you're about to glue it down, to sew it down. Next up, I'm going to show you a bodkin. Cute little tool. This is what I use in place of safety pins for threading elastic through any loops, any channels. It's very easy to use. You just slide the little slider up and down to open and close. Place it right at the end of your elastic. There's little grippies in here, little sharpish edges. Hold it in place, push the little thing up there, and it's going to hold it tight. And then you use that to go in through your channel or your strap. And as you can see, it's got a lot more control. You've got this big long space to be able to push through and hold. A lot more control than a safety pin's going to give you. And yes, I have been stabbed by many safety pins that come apart while you're threading your elastic. So this is something I recently found and I'm loving it. There you go, nice and easy to pull on through. When you're done, just open it up again to release the elastic. Now this is a tool that I use every single time that I am sewing any kind of knits. Or if I need to turn anything out. This is, again, just like the hem gauge, this is something I use all the time. This is a loop turner. It's got this cute little hook on the end with this little guy that helps you hold onto the fabric. So we've got a loop, a strap that I want to turn out. I'm going to insert that in one end, go all the way to the other. Even if this end is closed, it's fine. That little hook on the end is sharp enough that it'll go through your fabric. So you just hook it on, and that other little hook that's inside is going to actually come up and hold it in place as you're pulling it back through. And we just gotta get that started. And here we go. Oh, see, that one came apart this time. Sometimes that'll happen. That's okay. Go back on up there. We'll get it hooked on again. There we go. And let's see if we can get it going. There we go. Okay, so it's pulling through. And then it comes on out. Now I like to just unhook it there and pull the rest of the way. And done. Now the cool thing about this tool is it works with so many different widths of straps. Because it's nice and skinny, it'll fit on through there. The awesome thing about this tool, and this is why I use it every day when I'm doing knits, is I secure my serged ends with this. So if you've got your serged bit of fabric here, you've got your tail that you want to secure, what you're going to do is just insert this along that serged seam all the way to the end. You're going to hook that little tail into the hook, and again that little doohickey there is going to come on and slide over and hold it, and then you pull it on through, and there you go. So you can either do a short bit like that and cut off the end, or you can just start further back so you get the whole tail all the way enclosed. Something that I just recently got as well, my daughter loves cardigans and she insists on having buttons on her cardigans. I'm lazy, I don't put them on half the time, but this is an expanding gauge and it's going to help you line up buttons on your piece. I really hate trying to figure out the math of how far spaced apart buttons need to be on the side of your placket, and so this gauge actually will open up and it's going to evenly space out how far apart your buttons need to be on the edge there. I do like to double check it with my ruler just to make sure that it is fully spaced properly, but it really helps. It's all there. Now you can mark it. It's not going to be moving around. And it just does a really great job. It's extra helpful. I have my favorite pair of scissors that I use just to snip the threads as I'm taking them off the machines and cleaning up my fabric. But I recently got these Tulip Pink duckbill scissors. They're the same size, so I'm used to it being the smaller size. And you're going to see that one side is regular, like regular scissors with the pointy end, and the other one has a duckbill side to it. Now this side is going to protect your fabric as you're cutting two pieces and trying to take off one layer. So a lot of people will use this when they're doing lace projects, bras, anything that you're going to be having lace with your fabric. You don't want to cut into the lace with the sharp pointy edge. It's easy to get that in there as you're cutting, and then you're going to flip over your fabric and be like, oh no. So with the duckbill, you're going to slide that in between your fabric and your lace, and then you have no worries about it catching in your lace as you're cutting. It's a really, really amazing tool, and it's so helpful. It just makes it so much easier when you are working with the lace and you don't need to worry about cutting it. So that is the duckbill scissors. The very last tools that I wanted to show everyone is a mini vacuum, a handheld vacuum. Got this on Amazon a few years ago. I use it every couple of days or every day, even depending on what kind of fabric I'm using and how messy it's making my machines. Right now you can see I've got a whole bunch of lint and little fabric bits out there. And also the mascara wand. I got a package of these from the dollar store. It's just a little silicone tip with a little, there you go, you can see. It's got all the little edges. It's for mascara or brushing your eyebrows, that type of thing. So these two together get my machines really nice and clean. The mini vacuum just goes on in there and pick up all the extras. Get everything out here. And then whatever I can't get with the mini vacuum, just because it doesn't fit into the tiny spots, that's where my mascara wand's going to come in play. And you can just place that all in around there. And whenever you pull it out, you're going to get a whole bunch of fluffies and lint. You can see it's picked up a bunch of lint here. All that extra lint that the mini vacuum can't get because it can't quite fit all back in there. It's nice and it's safe. There you go, you can see some more. It's nice and soft and squishy. It's not going to hurt any of your parts. So there you go. I hope that I have introduced you to some new tools and gadgets to have in your sewing arsenal to help you bring your sewing game all the way up to an A game.